Okay, so it's very clear process, right? But let us think from the design perspective. Okay, so when you go and talk to your business, right? So now this is a business process. You will like initiate that. Okay, do you have these scenarios, right? So vendor is also a customer. So if they say that yes, sometimes we have our vendor is also a customer, right? So then you will initiate the discussion. Okay, exactly how do you do? What kind of things that you do? Do you display everything together? Do you print the account statement together? And like whether you treat a vendor as a primary or the customer as a primary, and all this you will discuss. The reason is that if the vendor is a primary, then you part of your accounts payable you will define this, right? If they say no, customer is primary, vendor is like sometimes he sells us. So then you design this part of your accounts receivables team. Teams may be different, right? So accordingly you can design this, right?
Yeah.
And then process wise, as I told you, like together. So the overall process, for example, if you want to show this to to the business that how it is operating. So first you will create a vendor, right? Obviously FK01, and create a customer and include vendor number in that, right? You create a FD01 like customer you create and include a vendor number here. So the moment you include the vendor number in the customer, system automatically updates the customer number in the vendor master. So either way, like when you include a vendor number in the customer or the customer number in the vendor, so system automatically does the next. And also you can say enable clear with vendor and customer in the respective master data. So there is a small indicator that you will go and enable it, so that system will include them. So then post invoices for vendor FB60, post invoices for customers FB70. So now you have some open items for vendor and open items for customer, right? Then you go and start like look at like vendor open items. So then there you can see the customer open items and look at the customer open items. Then you can see vendor open items, right? So and then you can go to outgoing payments or incoming payments. Then you can pull all the open items together for payment application, right? And also you remember that we use like vendor clearing FDAS32 for clearing. That also pulls all the open items. So screenshots wise, if you see here, there is like customer, right? So I create customer. So I have given like a vendor V0001 vendor, right? So the vendor you'll get a message that vendor is currently referenced and is not referenced and will be updated accordingly. So automatically system will update that. And there is a screen on the customer master like payment transaction screen. There is a small indicator that clearing with the vendor. That indicator you have to enable so that open items from the customer will be considered when you are processing the vendor. Okay.
Yeah.
That is one thing. So again, now you came back and looked at like your vendor. So in the vendor, that customer number when that customer is created is updated here. Okay, and also in the vendor master, there is in the payment section there is a small tick like clear with customer. This tick has to be enabled. So once you set up this master data, so then automatically you are ready for the process. Okay, entire process. So let us go and try to look at this process and see this. Any questions here?
Yeah, it's clear.
Yeah. So now let's create a fresh everything as a fresh, right? So let's say I'm creating a FK01. Now I'm creating a vendor. Okay, and let's say vendor V000. This time let's say 2. Okay, and then I'm using that V001 as a reference, right? So just to show you additional functionality, copy with reference, right? I'm giving the company code J0001 here and account group as a J0001, right? I can do that also, copy. So reference account group is J010, right? So I'm using that J010. Okay. So then it pretty much copies like some data, right? So vendor, I'm giving like V1 or V2 here, right? And this country US automatically copied, right? Other things are like for example, reconciliation account, all these are automatically copied, payment terms automatically copied, and right now I'm just creating a vendor, right? Nothing I did for this vendor. So V0002 is created, and if you go and see this vendor, I did not reference the customer number yet here. You see here, if I go here, the customer number is empty here. So now let me create a customer. For that FD01 I am creating, right? Again, the customer also, FD01 earlier we did not create, but this is another this number you are creating here, right? So I'm just taking that like sold to party, right? So 001 I'm creating, the company code I'm giving here, and we'll come back to the customer. More discussion we'll do it, but right now just for a sake of creating a customer, I'm just going ahead and specify the reference account number. I'm not giving the reference account number here, right? I'm just going ahead, right? So here I'm like giving that customer customer also vendor V00, just manually I'm entering here, right? So it's like nothing. Okay, so and I'll say cost, right? And control data I'm going here, I'm giving the city, whatever that San Diego and US I'm giving here, and transportation zone. These are some other fields which are okay. So customer is also found with the same address, right? So we'll give here other city, okay, maybe Memphis, right? So then otherwise it's like the system is trying to look at some other information, right? So control data I'm going here. You see here I'm trying to update here that vendor 002, right? The moment I try to do that, vendor is currently not referenced. You see here the message, right? And will be updated accordingly. So then I'm going here and just entering here, right? So now it's okay, and then going further. So company code data I have to give here, and like whatever that reconciliation account. If you see here, created a received reconciliation account. Going here, right? And rest all don't worry right now. We'll come back and try to understand other elements for the customer. So only thing is that here what we need to do is that we need to go here and payment transactions data, right, section. You see the clearing with the vendor is what you have to enable here, right? And then you just create this, right? So this, it says that this clearing indicator is not set in the vendor master, right? So I mean you will go and set that anyhow. Right. So now it is creating a customer, and if everything is perfectly working, then it will give you a number. So customer 33 is created. Okay. Now let us go to our vendor first, right? FK03, and let's look at this vendor. What happened to this vendor? You see the customer number is updated here. Okay. We did not do directly. Now it is updated, and I'm going into into the payment section here, right? And if I go into the payment section, so this is not automatically updated here. You see that? Okay, I'm just going here and enabling that. Okay. So now you have a customer and vendor, both master data is set up. Okay. So what we do is that we'll create a invoice for vendor FB60, right? FB60, normal invoice. I'm creating a vendor V002 vendor. And then entering like invoice date as today, right? And then this is normal like this customer, right? So a vendor, this is a vendor. So I'm putting like $400 or $500, right? And amount $500 here, right? So just reference like open item, just any other invoice, right? You can enter like that. I posted this, right? So now like there is a one open item is there for vendor, right? So I can duplicate that. So the R2, I can just invoice one, enter the values much faster. So now you have two invoices, okay, for the vendor. Open items, you can always look at that. If you go to the account table, right? Obviously, if you go into account and display line item, right? So it will always like these are open items you can see here, right? These are the tool open items.
Screen is
And
slow
there is an
recording.
oh really?
Yeah. We company code like the first invoice itself.
Okay. So you yeah okay. Let's wait for that.
Yeah, first invoice is getting saved now.
In the accounts payable, when you go here and open the display, and together you are able to see, right, by clicking this line item, you are able to see together. So same way I am going back to the vendor, right? I am going back to the vendor here, accounts receivables here, and the display balances, same thing like customer number I am giving here, and then there is a tick here, the vendor items. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you see that vendor items here?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then when you click on that, same thing, like it's just other way around, right? So same screen is shown up here, customer items first and the vendor line items second, 700. Any questions here? What about you, Jalendar? Do you see that now? Post outgoing payment?
No, it's stuck.
I never had this problem. Suddenly it's coming up. And voice is very clear, and this is very clear. I stopped sharing again, and then I'm sharing now. If the internet is a problem, then okay. So here bank details, obviously we can put the bank details and amount. You remember, like we need to pay $700, right? I'm putting here, if you carefully observe, I'm putting like vendor number, right? So here the vendor I'm putting here, and then when I like put the vendor number and say, I will say process open items. So it will pull all the values. You see here, the customer line item also came up here, right? So which means vendor and customer, all the open items came, even though you are paying outgoing here, right? So now all the $700 is assigned, right? I mean the way that we discussed, and again partial payments, everything will be as it is, like partial or residual payments. Then I can go here and simulate, or I don't require simulate. I can just say post. Okay. So the document is trying to show that payment, the value here. I mean like all the values. Vendor is like $1,000 and the customer $300. So right, assign payments here, and you're signing accepting it, and then it is okay. So this is some other problem, right? Account is not configured for KZ and all that, right? So but I mean otherwise it's pretty much ready for payments, right? So that is what it's going to do it here. Okay. So this is some other problem related to the account assignment and customer account assignment to the KZ, right? But overall, like I think you understood the process, right? I can even go and make the make the clear process also, right? instead of this, I can just say that, for example, I can even use the clearing process for clearing that. For example, F-44, you can go here and put that in a vendor number here and process open items. So you see here, it will have like all the invoices are selected. I can click on this 500 here, right, and I can say here partial payment, right, here instead of 500 I can say 300 minus, right. So like this also I can it's like right now what I'm doing is that I'm clearing one vendor line item here with the customer number which is 500. If this is also 500, it would have been very easy, right. So the total value that I'm posting here 300 and 300 here, so partial payment kind of thing, or I can say residual payment also, right. So here I am posting like 200 here and 300 here, then process this. Okay. So now the document is created. If you see, go and see this, right, how, remember that the way that payment usage, it will show you like what are the documents which are cleared. Okay. So the takeaway here is that how do you process the vendor with the customer? That is what the important thing here. Right? Any questions here?
Yeah.